All right. I am going to be going through some notes that I've been taking about AI. Currently putting together a presentation for my church men's group. I've been asked to speak on the subject of artificial intelligence and how Christians should be thinking about all of these crazy new things that are coming down the pipeline. I'm a bit of a techie guy. Got into the ChatGPT early. I was there in the first few weeks that it was, publicly available. Back in the Wild West before they really had it locked down with security measures. And you can ask it to do all kinds of crazy stuff. Not that I did. No, just, for my D&D campaign, there were some things that if I try to ask it now, it thinks that I'm trying to murder people, but they're just fictional people in a fictional world. I'm not actually trying to murder people. Anyway, yeah, I'm just, taking y'all along for a ride as I brainstorm about artificial intelligence. It seems like every single day there's some new major breakthrough, some new model released with crazy more or less parameters and more functionality. And so, yeah, anyway. By the way, this note-taking system that I have here is super cool. And if you don't know what it is, it's called Obsidian. And I feel sorry for you. You're missing out, and you need to get it. Why? Well, it's free. And, it's one of those free applications that actually comes with, all the features, and you don't have to pay a monthly user subscription to get extra features. I mean, okay, I take that back. If you want to publish things online and have it all sync perfectly, but there's other options for that. You can use OneDrive or, Google Drive for that sort of thing, which is what I do. And it's all free. But yeah, it's super cool. And all of your notes are yours. You don't have to store them on the cloud. You don't have to put it on Google Drive. It's just a local copy. It's all markdown text. So if I wanted to add a new heading here, it's really cool. All you do is just add a hashtag and a space and type something. And then you do 2 if you want to do a subheading. And then a dash and a space gives you bullet points, which is super cool. Yeah, and you can see here the outline is updating and stuff too. So then you can just easily skip around. So many cool features. Anyway, that was a little bit of a side trail, but just in case you were wondering about the program I'm using. It's pretty fun. Discipleship in the Age of AI. Embracing change while anchored in the gospel. Pretty good title, right? That was AI generated. Yeah, and so is this outline. Here we go. This rough draft. I told ChatGPT, I was like, I need to make a speech. It should be an hour long. Here's the general subject, and it spit out all this for me. Gave me an outline to work with. I probably will heavily edit this. ChatGPT is pretty crazy. That first week that it was out, you could tell, I don't know, I've messed with AI bots before in the past, and, going all the way back to the days of AOL and, early internet days. And I always thought they were fascinating, the little paperclip Clippy, from Microsoft. It was just so fun to kind of have this little chatbot that you can talk to and interact with, and just interesting. But you'd always run into this. It's just obvious that they're dumb. They're not really talking to you. Even the ones that tried to get a little more sophisticated, you could only hard code that stuff, so much before it ran out of options to, just started repeating things to you. ChatGPT was the first one. When I started talking to it, I was like, oh wow, this is a whole nother level. You could just keep talking to it, and just the amount of context that it would remember was just incredible. And I mean, that was early on. That was when it was the token length wasn't all, the memory that it could remember wasn't that big compared to what it is now. I forget what it was, maybe like 3,000 tokens. And now we're up to, could even be up in the 40,000 range. I'm not really sure what's actually GPT-4. I don't know what its total token length is. But anyway, yeah, it's the more you use it, you do realize that, there is a limit. So like the first thing I started trying to do, I run a D&D campaign. I've homebrewed my own story, and so I was like, well, maybe I can, start building out my world and really building out all of my characters. And so I started feeding it just all of the information about my world and my characters, and trying to see if it could, like really flesh out a really interesting story. It did really well at first. As I started giving it more and more context, it was incredible, because it was like, oh yeah, it was telling me, yeah, that's a really good idea, because you have this character and this type of character and this kind of setting, you might have these kind of dynamics, and the story could go in this direction. And I hadn't finished like giving it the rest of the context, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of where I was going with all that. Like, it guessed where the story was headed. I hadn't finished telling it the rest of the story, and it was already kind of catching on. It was really incredible. But at some point, it just kind of like didn't work anymore. It would, you tried to ask it about a character that you told it way in the beginning of the conversation, and it was like a goldfish, it didn't remember what you had said earlier on. So because there's only a certain amount of memory that it can, hold on to. And so as you're feeding it more information or having longer conversations with it, it's forgetting all these parts up in the top. Or just like in random spots. And then it starts just making things up, because it's just designed to continue the conversation, and it'll just make things up. So there's still work that needs to be done. It's not super intelligent yet, but it is incredible just how quickly the developments are coming. And so as I've been kind of thinking about all this stuff and kind of using it, and I do some coding too, and so I'm also an artist. I use Photoshop and Wacom tablets, so I do digital art. And so I was really interested in the Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, and like those kind of things, and started using those tools early on. And I thought that it was just incredible. You can just tell it to make an image, and it makes the image, and it just, it does it. And you could tell it to do it in different styles, Monet or whatever. And so I really started trying to study and learn, like, how are these things working? Like what voodoo magic is going on inside this thing to make it work. So I have a little base foundation now of like what's going on behind the scenes. But it just really got me thinking about, there's a ton of pastoral concerns that I could imagine. I'm not a pastor. I'm not an elder or deacon at my church. Just a concerned Christian here. Along with all this stuff, there's just a ton of potential temptations and pitfalls and confusion and fear as far as what all this stuff means. Anxiety about the future, anxiety about, is it going to take all our jobs? Is it going to kill us all? Like all these different questions. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm putting together kind of a presentation, hoping to inform my local church, what's coming up, in the future, what kind of things to expect, what's even here right now, as far as dangers, temptations, pitfalls. So I figured I'd just come on here and start the conversation for my Post Mill Still blog and channel, and hopefully get some feedback and maybe some conversations started with some of you folk, if the algorithm chose you to come across this channel. Because yes, AI is already being implemented in social media platforms. Facebook came out with an earnings statement or like an investor relations, document in 2022. Let me see if I can find that. Where is that? It's down here somewhere. I need to organize this better. The earnings, quarter. There we go. Social media excerpt. It says right now about 15% of content in a person's Facebook feed in a little more than that of their Instagram feed is recommended by our AI from people, groups, or accounts that you don't follow. So we expect these numbers to more than double by the end of next year. Well, that was, 2022, July. So yeah, these things are already being implemented, and you may or may not have noticed that, algorithm is behaving slightly differently, maybe better, maybe worse. I don't know. But they are implementing this stuff. And it's just kind of interesting too how we already kind of encountered this idea of artificial intelligence, or we have a name for it, right? It's the algorithm. the algorithm, we've been talking about that for some time. It's like we know that all these big tech corporations are listening to us on our phones. It seems like all you have to do is think about something and you see an ad for it. You see the car that you're needing to get, because there's just so much data out there. And that's what these corporations have been trying to do, is like, how do we gather all this data and then filter it all and present it in such a way to where we can form a model about each individual user. There's like privacy laws and stuff, so they technically don't know who exactly the customer is, but they could figure it out pretty easily with the amount of data that they have. But regardless, it's just super tailored to whatever your interests are. And so we've already kind of experienced the algorithm and AI to some extent. It's just, there's just been major breakthroughs on how easy it is to query the data. Now, all you have to do is just, with natural language, say, hey, what does this person, what interests this person? What kind of books would this person be interested in buying? And so right now there's just a ton of work being done to like integrate that into all the already existing systems. So we've had things like chatbots on websites all this time, but they were super dumb and repetitive, and everyone's always hit 0 to talk to a real person. Well, that's all going away, because you won't know that it's not a real person. Because not only will it be text on websites, but there's a phone number that you can call and talk to them, and it's a ChatGPT bot essentially with a voice AI automated voice. And it's just crazy. A full conversation with it. So yeah, anyway, just wanted to let you all know kind of what I'm up to right now. I think that's enough for now. So just expect more on this later. All right, talk to you later.